This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Wednesday, December 18th of 2024. Hard to believe we are so close to the end of the year, and we are so glad for you to join us on today's episode. In today's show, I talk with Adam Meyer. He's a farm manager at Murray Wise and Associates, and we talk a lot about how auctioning off farmland can be the best strategy for a lot of farmers, especially if there is high purchase demand in the area. We'll also later on have a check of the closing markets with the folks from agmarket.net. But first, here's my conversation with Adam. Adam, thanks so much for being on with us today. First off, what is the current trend for those farmland values?
I guess what I've seen trends, at least in this area, is seems to be steady. There's still buyers out there that are willing to purchase ground. So I think that's keeping some of the strength in the market. Obviously, I think there's definitely some softening of that market, but it still seems to be there's buyers out there looking to buy ground. So that's, I think, continue to keep things a little stronger. But as we go into 2025, I can see it plateauing or still slowly coming down. So.
And then when we look at the benefits of being able to auction that land, I know a lot of farmers might even try to do private sales or other methods, but when it comes to auctioning farmland, what are some of the benefits that they can see?
Some of the benefits to an auction is you get all the buyers or the potential buyers in a room. And I think that's one of the biggest things with an auction, that you're definitely trying to figure out the market that day. If you get everybody in the room and they're willing to put their best foot forward, it kind of shows where things are at. And I think that's kind of the things that have changed in the last, 6 months to a year is, I don't know if there's some people in the room looking to buy, but there's just less and less in that room. So, auctions are great because it figures that out, but I think that's kind of the trend that we've been seeing as well.
And then when it comes to that auction process, what does that look like from the farmer side of things if they're the ones making the sale of that land?
If they're trying to sell something, the biggest thing is to try to figure out what, the expectations of what that farm is worth, what the current market is at. If we're going to go to auction, or if it's a private sale, what's the best route to go? So I think going through that before the auction to just to know that whole process is a big deal. Also, I think there's a lot of guys are looking for, if it's an investor side, they're looking for a return. So what is that? What is the return on that property? Not just what's the price that it's going to go for, but what's that going to be able to pay somebody back over the long run? So I don't know. There's a lot to the process, but again, I think up front is mainly just trying to figure out, the expectations in front of them.
And when we talk about that auction versus private sales, what's kind of the way that farmers can look at the benefits, pros and cons, and weigh what might be best for their farmland?
So I think where the current market's at, you see a lot more private listings. I think it's mainly just to know that, hey, this is what we want for it, and trying to get a buyer to know that as well, compared to an auction where you can create all the expectations in the world, but if the day of that auction, there's just not enough, there's not two people in the room willing to go after that property, it might not push to the level. So there's a lot of those discussions on what the best benefits are from each of them. But I still believe an auction can still be a benefit even in today's market, just depending on what that property is. But again, you're seeing a lot more private listings just because there's just the things to think through as you want to develop or sell that property.
And then at Murray Wise and Associates, what are some of the things that you guys can do to help farmers through that process, whether it is auction or private sales, to make sure that farmers are getting what they need?
Well, I think we have a long history in Murray Wise of knowing who needs to be at that auction, if it's local farmers, buyers, but also just investors around the Midwest and also around the country, just to make sure there's everybody is at that auction that's willing to buy or looking for something. So we can at least get the best foot forward to try to help that seller out.
And then Adam, for anyone who would like to get in touch with Murray Wise and Associates and learn more and maybe even get started on that farmland value, maybe the auction process, how can they do that?
Well, they can reach out to me. I'm in Iowa. I help. I would be helping anybody in the state of Iowa. Then we have our office in Illinois as well. They would be helping there. But we also have, out of our Illinois office, we do a lot of, I guess, work with clients throughout the United States, especially over towards the eastern side of the United States. So I guess it would be to reach out to our Illinois office or to reach out to myself.
All right, Adam, thanks so much for taking the time to visit today, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Again, it was Adam Meyer, farm manager at Murray Wise and Associates. We'll go ahead and take a look at the closing markets next, but first, here's a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM, and we are now talking with Kenan Layden of agmarket.net for a closing market summary. Kenan, first off, what do we see going on in the grains today?
Yeah, grains are not what you want to see if you are a corn, soybean, or any grain producer. Soybeans led the way down today. They broke some of those technical resistance levels yesterday and continued the decline down. There was some news that the new Congress stopgap bill to keep the budget open did not include any provisions for biodiesel and the tax credits given for that. Not that it can't be put back in by the Senate, but it was not passed by the House that way. So that paired with good South American weather, more rains than were forecasted in Argentina, technical levels being broken have all just kind of brought that grain complex down today.
And Kenan, looking at Brazil as well with the devaluing of the real, what impacts are we going to see when it comes to the global grain marketplace?
Yeah, so the devaluing of the currency compared to the US dollar is not good for exports. Cheaper goods out of Brazil or less expensive goods with the devalued currency would lead to them being more competitive on the world stage versus the US. The dollar has been very strong too in the US, which has been a headwind, which is just another factor to add to the other ones that kind of makes this soybean and soy complex pretty bearish right now.
So then when we do get into marketing situations like this, where there's kind of a lot of headwinds impacting both the corn and soybeans, what advice do you have for producers who are trying to either just weather the storm or even potentially find a little bit of profit taking at these levels?
You know, it's hard right now because if you pencil it out, soybeans right now are not profitable at these levels for a lot of farmers in a lot of places. Can't grow yourself out with the yield, especially if you're not in one of those high yielding soybean areas. So if you're planting soybeans this year, the market does not owe you a profit. So, picking some levels and maybe putting some protection in case this gets real ugly, maybe something that's prudent, really having those break evens locked down. And when you're thinking about planting next year, I know guys up in North Dakota, our area, some of them are looking at some alternative crops such as oats, edible beans to replace the soybeans at current market prices. So there's a few things to do, but as far as marketing, having that break even and stopping the bleed somehow here and having some strategy to protect yourself moving forward would be prudent.
And then looking at the livestock side of things, how did cattle and hogs trade today?
Yeah, cattle complex was down today. Hogs were up. There was some news that the first avian flu that's severe has been found in people, which may be weighing on this market. Some of that reopening of the uh, Mexican border after the ringworm fiasco has been talked about and may have led to some of the weakness the last few days within the cattle market.
All right, Kenan, lots of great information today. For anyone who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Yeah, check us out on the web at eggmarket.net and find a broker in your area.
Thanks again for the analysis, as always, Kenan, and we look forward to chatting again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks again to the folks at agmarket.net for providing us great closing market analysis, as always. We'll go ahead and take a look at the closing prices through the market window at iowaagnet.com. March corn down 6 1/4 at 437 1/4. January soybeans down 25 even at 951 3/4. January soybean meal down 770 at 279.50. Soybean oil down $1.07 at 39.55. Chicago wheat down 3 3/4 at 541 1/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 3 3/4 at 548 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 2 1/2 at 592 1/2. March oats down 4 1/2 at 359 1/2. On the Merck, February live cattle down $1.42 at 188.32. January feeders down 47 cents at 257 even. February lean hogs up 50 cents at 83.70. Pork cutout went unchanged at 92.47. And January class-free milk down 46 cents at 20.05. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. That also brings us to the end of today's episode. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Don't forget, we do have a Christmas prize giveaway right now. Sign up for our newsletter for a chance to win a titanium hitch pin. We will be announcing those here at the end of the week. Check out our other videos as well on YouTube. Look at our YouTube channel, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free morning, midday, and closing market podcasts, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Pods of Potential. Find those on your favorite podcasting service at Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Andy Peterson, and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.